This is Big Leagues Country Roads Rankings. Yoo-hoo!
Aloha again, everybody, and I say aloha because of the balmy weather we're having outside, Joe, and that means only one thing. We're getting close to tournament time, the final week of the regular season for boys. Tournament time beginning, well, it began before this show at Loudonville for the girls, so, this is the best time of year.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of the year if you're a high school basketball player, boys or girls. These next few weeks can really, put a cap on your season if you make that tournament run. There's nothing more exciting for players and community and fans than when your team gets on a tournament run and makes that season really, really special.
Now, as a coach, did the nerves pick up? Did it go to like 11 once you got the tournament time, or were you just even keel Joe Balogh the whole time?
I think I used to get nervous for every game, but tournament games, especially, we had the chance to play in the districts at Ashland, and before they changed the seats, I think that's probably sat close to 2,800, 3,000 people, and you pulled the bus up and there were thousands of people standing outside. There was no feeling like that to go in into an arena when you warmed up and the place was packed. So it's exciting, really, really exciting.
Nothing like basketball in Ohio. But before we get to our tournaments, it's time for another edition of My Country Roads Rankings. The final edition for the girls. We'll have one more edition of the boys in our final episode. But as always, Coach, ladies first, in the final top 5 of my girls' Country Roads Rankings, the top 5 Division 3 and 4 teams. At number 5, it is the KMAC champion, Centerburg Lady Trojans, and I still had them. They had a very head-scratching loss to East Knox to end the regular season. East Knox only an 8-win team, but they were ahead far enough from that number 6 and number 7 team that I put the KMAC champs still in there at 17-5.
Yeah, anytime you're able to win a league, I guess, your concern would be, we're really not sure if they had injuries or sickness. That always can play into it. But, when you lose to an 8-win team at the very end of the year, going into the tournament, that would be a little bit concerned as a coach. But congratulations to Centerburg. Outstanding season. Anytime you're able to win a league championship, that makes this season special.
And you never know, it might be one of those wake-up calls to get them ready back for the season. My number 4 team, despite 2 losses to end the regular season, a loss to River Valley by 4 points, and a loss to a West Holmes team that I believe won the OCC championship by 3 points, is the Clear Fork Lady Colts, 15-7. Those 7 losses, no head-scratching losses there. Twice to Shelby, lost twice to River Valley, Mansfield Senior, and West Holmes. So they played a tough schedule. They won some big games as well. And despite those 2 losses at the end of regular season, only dropped them down 1 because they're a very good squad.
Yeah, I think they've been a team that's gotten better as the season's gone along. I had a chance on Sunday to talk to Coach Scott Sellers, and I think he's trying to put that West Holmes game at the very end of the year, every year, because he felt they really had a chance to win that game. And you're playing against a team that's going to be a tournament-type team. So if you look at their path, too, in the tournament, they've got a great chance to possibly win a district title in Division 3.
Yeah, we have to think it's them and Margaretta that are the top 2, and we'll find that out. You'll be able to see that on the OH Report here in the next couple of weeks, those matchups. My number 3 team, they've jumped up a little bit. It's the Cary Lady Devils, 19-3. They're the Northern 10 champs. They had some really good wins. They beat Arcadia. They beat Bucyrus, who's an up-and-coming team, and then they beat a pesky Upper Sandusky squad to finish out the season. But 19-3 headed into their district tournament. That's a great sign for the Cary Lady Devils.
Yeah, and Cary's kind of the team that survived that N10 schedule. A few weeks ago, we were talking about everybody knocking off everybody, but they've kind of found their way through it. Again, a league champion, truly deserving of the ranking that you have them at.
My number 2 team, it is the Pleasant Lady Spartans, 18-4, 2 losses to Clear Fork. They also have that loss to Minster at the Hoosier Gym, and then 1 other loss. But the runners-up was the Shelby was their other loss. But
they also beat the Whippets earlier in the year.
Them. So that's what's keeping them at that number 2 spot. But 18-4, they won last night in their sectionals semifinal game. They will host Northmore in a sectional championship, so it's looking like they're a squad that can make at least a district semifinal, but you never know. This is a team that if they're hot, they might make a run.
Yeah, if you look at all 4 of their losses,
Yeah.
they didn't lose to anybody that you would say, hey, that's an upset. They lost to quality teams. So again, not a league champion, but right behind the league champion in Shelby, which I think that's the next direction we're going to go. Well,
Yeah,
no,
well,
because Shelby's in the
that'll
big
be on your-
schools.
that's your
on my
track.
side. I'm getting them mixed up.
Don't give anything
here.
away, Joe.
That's
Don't
right.
give anything
Yeah.
away for yours.
So-
But the number 1 team, it's the Loudonville Lady Redbirds.
Yep.
Congratulations on another championship from the Country Roads rankings. They finished 20-2, and the 2 losses are to teams a couple divisions ahead of them that are probably going to make tournament runs as well. But what really clinched it, Joe, a game I saw with my own eyes live and free on Saturday, they just steamrolled a 19-2 Columbia squad that they have a good chance of doing some things. They got their top scorer into foul trouble early. The Vermilias did their thing. The other 2 seniors, in Williams and Spangler, they did their thing. And this is a team that's poised to make it to Dayton. I don't even mean districts or regionals. This is a team that has their eyes sight on a state championship.
Nothing like putting pressure on Coach Bates there.
It's not only that, but Corey Vermilia, in her reader for her senior night, says her favorite memory, she has many, but her best one is going to be making it the UD Arena. So they already have those sights on there. Not the media, we have to do our thing. But it's them that think they can do it as well.
Yeah, they've had an outstanding season. And, I mean, the game that their last game, I think Coach Bates said, the best game that he's probably coached for a long, long time. So on the right track. It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, as we mentioned before, got a player like Corey Vermilia. She can just kind of put a team on her back, but it seems like her younger sister.
8 threes.
I mean,
8 threes in a game.
It's nice for Coach Bates that he's going to get 3 more years of another Vermilia that can make them pretty good.
And another reason why I'm saying this is a team that can make it to Dayton is they have such balance. They had I believe it was a school record 15 threes in that game. So it wasn't just Vermilia that was hitting. It was Corey, it was Williams, it was Spangler, every other player. But then they do have that inside presence. Alicia Felix, another player, big, tall, big underneath. And then you have Corey Vermilia, it's not afraid to go in there, get some big rebounds, things like that. So they have a really balanced squad. And then with the defense that they have, the sky's the limit.
Yep. I mean, and if they play like they did their last game, your prediction could come true.
So my final top 5 for the girls: number 5, Centerburg; 4, Clear Fork; 3, Cary; 2, Pleasant; 1, Loudonville.
No real disagreement there. All teams that have had special seasons, but to make it really special would be to be playing here in about 3 weeks.
I don't think you objected to any of my top 5 for the girls. I guess I'm doing something right. Either that or you're just too nice to me, Joe.
Or maybe I'm just a good assistant that agrees with you all the time.
That's what you love to have, though, a good assistant.
No,
like
you
that.
don't. You like to have
No, no.
you like to have ones that argue with you a little bit. So,
Okay.
so
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year I'll
Maybe
get a little
next
bit
year.
more vocal.
Okay.
Or maybe here on The Boys we can see.
We're going to start off with my boys' top 5. I'll have one more edition of that when we finish our Joe Show season coming up. But my top 5.5. I have a 5A and a 5B. I'll explain to you. I'll go through the 2 teams. But my 5B is the Co-K-Mac champion Northmore Golden Knights. They had wins against Loudonville on senior night, and they win against Winford at Winford. A really good win for them. They have a 6-point loss at Fredericktown, and then that heartbreaking buzzer-beating loss to Gallion, which was a really well-defended. We both seen the highlight. Really well-defended defensive play, but Gallion Elijah Chafin just hit an enormous shot.
And
to
Gallion's
win
played
it there.
well at home this year.
They have.
It
was a tournament atmosphere, too.
Yes.
The place was packed. So that's why I have them at 5B. But at 5A, welcome into the rankings, the Mansfield Christian Flames. This is a team deserving of making my top 5, and they really showed me last night in their just absolute dominance of New London. They outscored them 29-0 with their 5 seniors, so the 2 freshmen didn't even play in that first quarter. They outscored them 29-0 in the first quarter. They have 5 great seniors, and then with the other 2 freshmen, this is a team that you never know. They could make a run. Their losses, Lucas twice. They lost to Northmore. That's why I kept Northmore in at 5A and B, and then they lost to Crestview. So for Mansfield Christian, no bad losses there, and they could have beaten Lucas both games. They had a chance at the end.
And I think what you've seen with them is Amar Davis, I believe, averaged over 20 a year ago. He's only averaging 16, so you can see that the team around him is much better. And they've got a path that they could be a team that could cause some trouble in the district tournament.
Yeah, they get New London back-to-back games, and we just saw what they did against New London.
Yep.
So I'm guessing there's not going to be an upset there. Then they go to St. Paul, and St. Paul's they're without their big now, so that could be a different game for them. And then we'll get physical versus finesse.
Yep.
Colonel Crawford versus Mansfield Christian. That could be a very fun game to watch up at Willard.
Yes, that would be an interesting contrast of styles.
Speaking of Crawford, a team that beat them twice is my number 4 team, and that is the Seneca East Tigers. 16-5. They have one game remaining in their schedule, but this is a team that has been just progressing as the season's advanced. 2 big wins against Colonel Crawford as well, kept them around in the Northern 10 race. But they're deserving of that spot, number 4, and they're in that Willard district, but on the bottom half.
Yes, I mean, Anthony Langhurst, their coach, has done a solid job there. I think they play a lot of 1-3-1, which is a different defense that a lot of teams don't see, and sometimes that difference causes teams a lot of problem, especially caused Crawford problems both times they played them this year.
Another team that we could see maybe facing Mansfield Christian or Crawford from the bottom half of the bracket, the Lucas Cubs. 17-4. They had a big win over Mansfield Christian in the game you saw live and free at home. They beat Clear Fork in a battle of rivals. Crestline and Plymouth, they had a tough loss to Willard, but I mean, Max Dawson and company, they're a team that I think may surprise some people in that district in Division II. But 17-4, they're going to finish as my number 3 team so far.
Well, the night I saw him play last was against Clear Fork, and I mean, Logan Toms was solid, but Aiden Colors, I think, had 30. And they've had some other guys that have stepped up. Grayson Jackson, I believe, also. And so I think that's got to be really pleasing for the Cubs in that now you don't have to just put everything on Logan's back. There's some other guys that are stepping up here at the end of the year.
Coach Joe Jakubic back in the day always told me this about the D4 tournament when they were really good those few years. For Division IV, you have a solid 5, but if you have 1 or 2 bench players, if you have a good 7 players in Division IV, you could go far with that. I know in Division III and II, you need a lot of role players, but with what you have in Division IV, if you have a couple players that could add on, it could get you far.
And then the other part with Lucas is just their experience. I mean, Logan Toms has probably been in the district tournament every year that he's played, and they've had some special seasons. So those guys understand it, and some of those other guys that are now stepping into roles, they may not play, but they've sat on the bench, so they know what that feeling is, and you hunger to have that taste, and that's kind of where they're at.
And talking with Taylor Eisman last week on the podcast, it's that culture that he's built from his first year as Cubs coach now to being the all-time leading wins leader at Lucas. Number 2, another team in that district, it's the Colonel Crawford Eagles. 16-5, they beat Mount Gilead in the game you saw. They beat Winford in the game I saw. Really great battle, but their lone loss since our last update was to Seneca East. It's just that, you know, that they couldn't get that monkey off their back from Seneca East, but you never know, they might get to see them one more time. But their resume is good enough to put them as my number 2 team. Yes,
I mean, you know, if you take a look at Crawford, they're a lot different team than maybe their good teams of the past couple years. They're not really a finesse team at all. They're physical. They're going to beat you up. They're going to wear you down. They're going to put the ball in the post.
Yeah.
And the big thing for Crawford is guys understand their roles. There's not a lot of deviation. They got, you know, 3 guys in Bruner, Goddard, and Vogt that kind of shoot threes. And then the McMichael brothers, they're like tag team guys that they slap hands and come in and just beat the heck out of you.
Yeah.
And then Payne DeGray's pretty much averaged almost a double-double all year and is only a sophomore. He's got a brother, I think his name's John DeGray, that's a freshman that's now playing some.
Yeah, he is.
So they're kind of rolling in the tournament here. But again, you take a look at that possible matchup in the district semis of them and Mansfield Christian. Contrast this styles would really be interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks, but you know, still have a little basketball to play on the boys' side. My number 1 team, they're still there, 20-1, the Crestview Cougars. They had that tough loss at St. Paul at the buzzer, but that's their lone blemish. They're the lone team in our area with just 1 loss. They're going to stay there, and I'm pretty much going to say they're going to be the champion when I reveal the final 5, unless they get blown out by Western Reserve and no offense to Coach Chris Sheldon, great guy up at Western Reserve, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, a loss takes a little bit of pressure off of that, off of you a little bit. Also, maybe get your kids to refocus a little bit. I think I watched a little bit of an interview today with Dan Hurley, the coach of UConn, that they, got beat
by
Creighton last night, and that was kind of one of his things. Was like sometimes when you get on one of those rolls, you can't, whatever you do, you can't get your kids to focus. And now sometimes with the loss, it makes you refocus. And Crestview is going to have to refocus because number one, Chris Sheldon does a great job in preparation.
Yes, he does.
But then number two, when you get to the tournament, Margaretta came right at them.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't go opposite. They're going to play them in the, if everything works out, they're going to play them in the district semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's maybe a little bit of juice for the Cougars there too. That, hey, this team, Margaretta doesn't think we're as good as we are, and they're coming right after us. So, again, Travis, can't really disagree with you on too much there. You might be able to switch a couple, but
yeah.
All solid seasons there. But again, going back, have a solid regular season. Now to make the season a little bit special is what do you do in the tournament?
Yep. Yeah, so my final top 5.5, you could say, for the boys. We'll have one more, like I said, update on them coming up. But 5B, Northmore, 5A, Mansfield Christian, 4, Seneca East, 3, Lucas, 2, Crawford, number 1, Crestview. There are my top 5 for the girls and boys. And guess what, Coach? All those teams play defense.